This is a really quick guide on how you can make a very simple pond with no filter or pump. This pond's home to about 14 Pacific blue-eye fish, some shrimp, snails. It holds approximately 100 litres or 25 gallons. G'day, my name is Kev, and the aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain a pond without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, feel free to subscribe, and you might like to visit my website, Ozponds.com. As a beginner to ponds, it's best to try something like this in a smallish container. I'm using an old wine barrel. They say larger bodies of water are easier to care for, and I tend to think if you can master something on a smaller scale, you can always get bigger later. To start with, I like to fill the container with water to make sure that it doesn't leak. Things like old wine barrels will leak at the start, but as the wood expands, they become watertight. You can also use things like decorative pots. You just need to plug the drainage holes. Anyway, once you're confident the pond holds water, you can drain out that water, and your first step is to add a thin layer of dirt about 1 inch thick. This is just regular dirt dug up from the garden. I don't bake it or do anything like that. I just wet it down and bung it in. Then you can cap the dirt with a layer of sand. About 2 inches over the top is good. You can use any type of sand. I just grabbed this at the hardware store. In the past I've used pool sand, play sand, even fine aquarium type gravel. It all works. The dirt provides nutrients for the plants, and the sand helps trap the nutrients in the soil and stops them mixing with the water. The plants are going to help filter the water. The deep substrate also becomes a home to many microorganisms and beneficial bacteria that should maintain a healthy environment for the fish and any other aquatic life. You want to try and have a mix of different types of plants, some that will grow and root into the substrate, some that will emerge out of the water, and some that will float on the water's surface and absorb nutrients directly from the water. Here's a list of the plants that I purchased for this pond. Once you've bought them, you won't need to do it again, as they all propagate very easy. I also added in some thin eelgrass and hornwort from my existing ponds, and a few plants that I found in local water bodies, but I'm not sure of their names. Anyway, I added in a little water and planted in any of the plants that go directly into the substrate. I used an aquarium siphon to gently fill the pond up. I'm using old pond water, so it's already filled with plenty of life. You want to fill it gently, as you don't want to break the sand layer. Remember, it's there to trap the nutrient-dense soil. We don't want that soil mixing directly with the water, otherwise we have a right mess. This is what happens if you break the sand cap and the water becomes too nutrient-rich. This green water, however, is a great food source for baby fish. But if you want clear water, don't break the sand cap. At first the water will be cloudy from the sand. I didn't rinse it off at all. I'm lazy. I also added in those red leaf floaters that I bought. It only took a couple of days and the water's already cleared up. After setting it up, I like to leave it for a couple of weeks to let the plants get going, the microorganisms and bacteria colonies to establish, before adding in any fish, shrimp and snails. It's important to not overstock ponds like this, as there's no dedicated filter. The pond itself is an ecosystem and needs to take care of itself. Choosing small fish and also adding in a cleanup crew like shrimp and snails is a must. This particular pond has native shrimp and common pond snails. I'm in a pretty cold climate by Australian standards, but a small pond like this could also keep common cherry shrimp alive year-round. This is my first time with the blue eyes. I'm not sure if I'll leave them out over the winter, but I'm hoping that they'll breed out here during the summer. White cloud mountain minnows and rice fish are some easy to care for, beginner-friendly and small fish that I've kept outdoor year-round with no issues. They'll also definitely breed for you, which is always fun. Because the pond has no dedicated filter or water movement, you'll want to manually remove some of the buildup of stuff that falls into the pond. It's okay to let some settle inside the pond, It actually helps feed the plants and the microorganisms that like to break down organics. They in turn provide natural food for the fish. I also try and position the pond so that it's not in direct sunlight, at least not for most of the day. A couple of hours is okay, and it's actually good for the plants. We just mainly want to avoid the water heating up too much. That's a problem for the fish. Too much light could also promote excessive algae. Speaking of algae, you don't want to overfeed the fish. They have plenty of life inside the pond to feed on. This is good natural food. Excessive amounts of store-bought food can potentially overwhelm the system. The idea of these types of mini ponds is to create a self-sustaining ecosystem. Where I live, we don't really experience massive rain events, at least not often. Therefore, I don't bother with an overflow. I just let the water cascade over the edges as the pond fills. People that live in tropical areas might like to add a dedicated overflow with some kind of media that will allow the water to pass through, but not the fish. Or even just keep a mini pond like this under cover. If you aren't allowing rainfall to top up and overflow the pond, you probably should conduct a water change every now and then. Over time, nitrogen levels build up inside the pond. Some of it will gas off, some of it will be processed by plants and bacteria, but as a beginner, it really won't hurt if you do a small manual water change. You could siphon out 20% of the water and replace it with new water each week or every second week. But if it's exposed to rain and overflows, this shouldn't be necessary. I personally only top mine up as needed. If you go the water change route, you have two common options. You can top up with tap water and use a water conditioner to treat and remove impurities, most notably chlorine and chloramine. Or you could simply use rainwater or some other pure water source. Anyway, I think that about covers it and gives you the basics of an easy, no filter, no pump pond. If you want me to do an update on this particular pond in the future, let me know in the comments section. I also have other videos where I set up a different type of no pump pond using Dr. Novak's anoxic filter teachings. That one's still doing well. Anyway, I'll link that in the description if you're interested. As always, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and if it was, feel free to tickle the thumbs up button. See ya.